So, good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. I'm delighted to say I'm here with
Felicia Holder.
from the Progressive Empowerment Party. And Felicia, please say hello to the people.
Hi, good day. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be a part of this program.
Excellent, excellent. It's a pleasure having you. And it'd be so interesting chatting about Trinidadian politics, the politics of your party. Later on in the show, first of all, we're going to be chatting about some lovely Caribbean food. And
Yeah.
can I start by asking you, do you prefer Caribbean food to international food?
Ooh, that's a tough
Yeah.
question. I like food on a whole. Um, I don't think it's a preference between Caribbean over international. I think once it tastes good, I love flavors. I like rich flavors. I am a big fan of potato. I love potatoes. So I like trying different ways of cooking it, whether it's a local way of cooking it or an international way of cooking it. I don't really have a preference. I think once food tastes good, I love it.
Okay. So before we get into the Caribbean food, can I ask you what is your favorite international dish?
Whew, my favorite international dish. Do not judge me. Do not judge me. Do not judge me. It's fries. I love fries. Fries. I love potato. I love fries. I try all different types of fries. Fries. It's my comfort food. I think it's the perfect blend of saltiness and crispiness. I love it. Love, love, love fries.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a surprising answer, actually. Well, you
It
said you
is.
love potatoes, so
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, well, I presume wedges.
I love. I'm a wedge. I prefer the straight cut fries, but I like crinkle cuts. I like steak cuts. I like wedges. They're there, but I prefer the straight cuts and the crinkle cuts and the steak cut fries.
Right. Okay. And I'm guessing that you like them nice and spicy as well.
Yeah. Throwing some spice, some black pepper, some salt, some pepper.
Right. Okay. So, what is your favorite Caribbean dish?
Right. So my favorite Caribbean dish is crab and dumpling. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love
Right. I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Yeah, I had one. Well, this was actually before the pandemic,
it.
and what I can remember was sucking the juice out of the crab. It was so juicy. It just seemed like I was sucking forever and ever. It was excellent taste. Yeah.
And to be honest, that is the part that frustrates people the most about eating crab and dumpling, and that's the part I love the most. I can sit down literally for an hour or two, just cracking that crab in my mouth, breaking it up, sucking out. I love it. I like to try it. Look, in Trinidad, I like it in Tobago. I like to try all different varieties of crab and dumpling. But I think it's so rich in flavor. And like I say, some people get frustrated by the process of eating it. Not me. I will sit down for 2 hours straight, cracking those crab legs.
Yeah. And where would you go to get crab and dumpling?
Right. So I have my preferred place in Trinidad and my preferred place in Tobago. In Tobago, I go Store Bay. Most of the crab and dumpling suppliers in Store Bay, they have really good crab and dumpling. People have told me that some taste better than others. I think all of the vendors in Store Bay, thus far that I have tried, really, really good crab and dumpling. The season, there's a difference in the flavor between the crab and dumpling in Tobago and the crab and dumpling in Tobago. There's a slight difference in flavor that I appreciate. Here in Trinidad, I
Okay.
come to Victoria Foods Grab and Go, which is one of my preferred places for Creole and Caribbean food. They carry a variety of brands like El Pecos and Woodford Cafe. Woodford Cafe is the one that does the crab and dumpling. I love it, love it, love it. Actually, I'm filming inside of Victoria Foods Grab and Go right now on a Saturday. So they do soup and crab and dumpling and stuff. So I asked to film here, and they have crab and dumpling on the menu today. So of course, I will be having that.
Ah, right. So whereabouts is Victoria Foods?
That Victoria Foods is located on Park Street, Portisby, and it's opposite Victoria Square. It's where our Peter Avenue turns into Park Street. It's right across from the park. It's a new establishment, just a little under a year old. And like I said, it carries a variety of Caribbean food from brands that we know like Woodford Cafe, which does the saltfish and provision, and the crab and dumpling, and then El Pecos, which does like jake and oil down, and then some other smaller suppliers that do corn soup and sauce and pigfoot sauce, and Woodford Cafe also does barbecue pigtail. Is a nice variety of local food that you would love to try, and of course a little touch and taste of some international food as well.
Right. So did you just give me a list there of all the different places in Trinidad that you like, or Port of Spain that you like other types of Caribbean dishes?
Well, no, actually, all of those brands that I just called, they all located in Victoria Foods Grab and Go, and that's what I love about that place. They carry all the brands, all the best brands under one roof. But of course, outside of Grab and Go, there are places that I like to go, like Irie Bites, El Pecos, which supplies Grab and Go, but they actually offer more extensive selection than the outlet here in Grab and Go. So there's Irie Bites, there's Creole Kitchen and Marval Road, all of these places. And I'm talking to you, and I swear my belly just grumbling now because I tasted the food. I want it now.
Right. So grab Victoria Foods Grab and Go.
Yeah.
It's, from what I'm getting from you, it's a place where you go to collect your food.
It's a place that carries pre-packaged food from various well-known and other smaller brands across Trinidad and Tobago. So Woodford Cafe, I don't know if you know of that establishment. They send a selection of items here at Grab and Go. It's a condensed version of their menus, like barbecue pigtail, the crab and dumpling that I love, the saltfish provision. Sometimes they send acrobites, as well as El Pecos. They carry a smaller version of their extensive menu here as well. So you'll get corn pie and provision, you'll get oil down, and then there are other smaller suppliers who would send their brands here as well. John's Jira, Roland's Gourmet House. We have Sakura Arts, which would supply Grab and Go. It's sushi, local flavored sushi. So it's the tagline for Victoria Foods Grab and Go is all the best brands under one roof. So it's no one particular thing. It's taking a sample of all the best things, all the best Creole food that we love across Trinidad and Tobago, and bringing it in Grab and Go. So if you and your colleague, I'm feeling for crab and dumpling today, but I feeling for soup. You don't have to go somewhere to get crab and dumpling and somewhere to get soup. You come to Victoria Foods Grab and Go and you get both at the same time.
Right. Sounds very interesting. Very modern as well, you know?
It was an idea that was created out of the pandemic because you remember under the lockdown, you can go to restaurants and you can go and do fine dining. So it was pre-packaged restaurant food that you could pick up and take home, grab and go.
As you're there, you know, later on, if you could send us a few photographs so people could see the...
Yes, I will. For certain. I'm sending you a picture of that crab and dumpling. If they have any left, I hope they left mine. I hope they left mine on the side.
You're making me hungry. So I heard one of the other places that you like is El Pecos.
So El Pecos, which I said supplies Victoria Foods Grab and Go, but their branch on Arapita Avenue, they carry a more extensive menu. So you will get things like, well, you know, I love potatoes, so I love a potato salad. I love El Pecos potato salad. Oh my God, it's so good. They have a great barbecue pigtail. Their fried rice. I love a corn pie as well. And actually, my second favorite Caribbean food, I know you did not ask me this, but my second favorite Caribbean food is corn pie. I myself make an excellent corn pie. I boast about it. Love corn pie. My secret is 3 different cheeses. I would not tell you what all these 3 cheeses are because that's my secret. But I love corn pie, and El Pecos, they do a version of the corn pie that's not like mine, but it tastes really, really good.
Excellent. Lovely. So, if you was talking to a tourist and they was looking for some we're in Trinidad and Tobago for something exciting, something fun to do, where would you recommend them to go?
I will recommend El Pecos, Irie Bites. There is Creole Kitchen, and I would
Sorry, I wasn't meaning food. I just meant somewhere fun or something exciting to do in general.
oh, something exciting to do in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Go hiking down in Carenage. Carenage has a very, very beautiful and I would say understated ecosystem and preserved ecosystem that I think is par none, and it's a shame that we don't advertise it better.
Yeah, because I've never heard of that. Yeah.
But you wake up early a Saturday morning and take a drive down there before the sun comes up, and you just take a stroll down in Macquarie or in the Bamboo Cathedral. It is so relaxing. It is so beautiful. I personally, I love nature. I love the beach. I love the sea. But something about walking in a forest reserve is just so calming and relaxing, and especially if you're into ecotourism, and especially if you're into staying healthy and hiking and stuff, I would definitely recommend taking a hike down on the Carenage / Macquarie side. Definitely.
Right. Okay. And I suppose the best people to get in touch with that would be, I think they're called the CDC?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can get to the CDC. I don't know if they're still doing I think through them you can find out people who do tours and actual like groups of people. But on Facebook itself, I'm not connected with them because I've never linked up with them. I've only ever gone on my own or with like small groups that I know. But I know through Facebook and other social networks, you can find groups that actually go and do hikes and exercises down in even biking down on the Carenage side.
Okay. Now, I'm asking this question to all my guests now, just out of sheer curiosity. So, apart from obviously Trinidadian, Jamaican, Guyanese, do you know of any other islands or Caribbean countries that have food establishments in Trinidad?
And have what? Sorry?
Food establishments or restaurants in Trinidad. So, for example, from the Bahamas or Haiti, do you know any other islands that might have food places?
That might have food places. Hey, yeah. Actually, I was at one just last night, a Jamaican place. They do Jamaican. They do jerk chicken and pork and barbecue chicken and pork. I had that for dinner last night. It was so good. Oh my gosh, it was. Like I tell you, I like food. I like my belly. It's just one place that I know of, but I know that there are several others dotted across the country. The biggest influences we would find though are Jamaican.
Yeah.
That would come here, and the biggest things that they offer, of course, would be like jerk and Jamaican patties and stuff like that.
Okay. But apart from Jamaican or Guyanese, do you know of any other country that might have an establishment, Caribbean country, that might have an establishment in Trinidad?
I honestly don't, and if I have ignored or forgotten any, I'm really, really sorry. But I am pretty sure that there are maybe some smaller versions of Caribbean establishments located here in Trinidad. So the same way we have Jamaican, I know that there are some Bajan places. I personally have not experienced them. I know I can't consider Venezuela because it's not Caribbean.
Right.
Mexico, and they are and have heavily influenced our local Creole food actually. So some things they've actually taken and modified using the Venezuelan version of it. So paella, which is also kind of similar to our what do we call paella? Similar to our pilau that we call it here. So they would do a modified version of it. I know they also offer things like God, I can't remember the name. It's totally slipping me right now, but I definitely would say you see, especially with the immigration, the patterns of immigration over the past 5 years, there's a very heavy Venezuelan influence. Of course, the other Caribbean islands that I may not have experienced yet, I'm pretty sure they're here, but maybe not on a scale that I may have had the encounter of tasting.
Yeah, everyone I've asked so far, doesn't know of any other islands apart from Jamaica or
Yeah.
Guyana. You know, so yeah, you're not alone in that section. So can I ask you, pepper, is it for you none, slight, medium, or pepper?
So funny that you say pepper because right before the show, feeling hungry, I didn't eat yet. I ate some pepper from somebody who's sampling in Grab and Go right now. I like pepper, but it has to be tasty pepper. It can't just be hot for hot sake. It has to have flavor to it. And depending on how much flavor it has in it, I will have a lot or a little. But when it comes to eating pepper in my doubles, I usually take slight.
Okay, okay. Do you keep your pepper in the fridge or the cupboard?
Personally, I think it should be in the cupboard. I don't like cold pepper.
Right.
Something about it being in the cupboard, I think it tastes better. I don't know.
Okay.
It might just be all in my mind, but I prefer eat pepper that's like room temperature than cold.
Right. No, I hear you on that. I hear you on that. What about tomato sauce? Fridge or cupboard?
Tomato sauce.
Yeah.
If it's unopened, cupboard. If it's open, fridge.
Right. Okay. Favorite drink?
What is my favorite drink? Huh. What is my favorite drink? I like coconut water, to be honest. I really like coconut water.
Right.
I think I like water in a whole, but that little additional slight sweetness, love it. Love coconut water.
And it's so healthy for you as well.
And it's very healthy for you. Tasty and healthy. And hydrated.
And favorite alcoholic drink?
Hey.
Yeah.
I think a glass of wine. Yeah. A nice glass of wine that's not too sweet because I hate sweet wine. But just slightly sweet. Medium, not too dry, not too sweet. Yeah. A glass of red wine or rose wine. Rosé.
Okay. Favorite fruit?
My favorite fruit is a toss-up between Caribbean cherries, governor plum, and pomerac.
Okay, I've heard of the pomerac. I haven't heard of the other two.
We call pomegranates. Yeah, so governor plum, which is a version of the Caribbean plum that we eat, and cherries. I have a cherry tree, and I just this morning actually I was reading my cherry plot in the past few days, and the tree was just laden with cherries. So those are my favorite fruits, and they're all local.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we already know what your favorite vegetable is.
Potatoes. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Any version of potato, I will have it. Fried, boiled, mashed, baked. Love it. I think potato, I'm new to TikTok, and I just started following a page that's called Potato Everything, and the amount of it's a page dedicated to all the different ways you can have potatoes. So in my whole glee.
So pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why people have such a aversion to pineapple on pizza. I don't find it bad at all.
Yeah.
It gives it some flavor. I love pineapple on pizza. I probably lost half of my any fans that I had. They were like, ew, but no, I like it. Sorry, can't complain about it.
And what would you say is the national dish of Trinidad and Tobago?
Now this is a very controversial question because it tends to get caught up in a whole race war that I do not understand. I would say the national dish of Trinidad and Tobago. It will have to be a toss-up between pilau and doubles. And to me, they represent two completely different ethnic groups. But I love trying it from two ethnic groups that tried. I've had doubles made by the Afro population, and I've had pilau made by the East Indian population. And I don't know why people get so possessive when it comes to food and who created it. Again, like I said at the start of this program, I think once it tastes good, that should be the focus. So for me, I would have doubles and I would have pila. Once it tastes good, I love it. And when you think of Trinidad and Tobago, automatically think doubles and pila and things like callaloo and crab and dumpling and all those things. So to say there's any one food, I think that would be a little bit unfair and biased, because we're such a melting pot that it's many things in one. But if I had to narrow it down, like I said, pilau and doubles.
Right. Okay. And now with the price of living just skyrocketing, where would you recommend people to go and get groceries for the best sort of bargains in Trinidad and Tobago?
As somebody who hardly goes to the grocery, um, and and one of the reasons why I would go to this particular place that I'm calling, which is Massey Stores, it's because they have a points program. And now I'm saying Massey Stores, understanding that a lot of people are going to say, oh no, they're very expensive, because in comparison to some of the more lower end supermarkets that we have, and I will call a few of them in a bit, because if you really want to save $1, I will call those names. But the reason why I like Massey Stores, it's because they have a rewards program. So at the end of the year, after shopping there for the year, I would have accumulated a number of points, which I can now use towards purchasing groceries. And I've actually bought groceries using my points alone. I had accumulated close to $500 in points. And the good thing is that it's not just limited to the grocery. You can go and swipe your card at, if you pay for insurance, because they also have an insurance company, Massey Insurance, you also get points for that. So you pay for insurance and you get points that you could use in the grocery. So that's my reason for shopping at Massey Stores, because it's good. I love the idea of going in and not having to pay any money because I've already accumulated the points. But for people who are trying to shop on a budget, and I completely understand the cost of living, and making $100 stretch in a million ways. There's groceries like Cost Price, Payless supermarkets in Port of Spain, Sing Chong on Charlotte Street. And I know this because I'm from Port of Spain, and like on a Sunday or a Saturday, you need to run and grab one thing, and you don't want to go and spend a lot of money in Massey Stores because you're not going to get that many points on it anyway. You run down to these groceries, and they offer really good bargains, especially for families and middle and lower income families who have to make their money stretch.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. What about fashion? Where would you recommend people to go and get some nice looking clothes for ladies? What stores in Port of Spain would you recommend at reasonable value?
To be honest, I haven't gone to a store and purchased clothes in a while. Usually I used to reserve my shopping for when I travel. I would buy in bulk and say, okay, this is my wardrobe for the next 2 to 3 years. But if I had to go and grab anything, I would usually go on the streets of Charlotte. Charlotte Street, there are little bargain stores. There's a store that I don't know the name of it, but it's called Pink Door. I know we refer to it as Pink Door because they have these huge pink doors outside of the store. And you can get dresses for under. I bought a dress there for $60 that I wore for All Year's Night. And I mean, $60, anybody who doesn't know, is equivalent of about $8 US. Very, very reasonable, very cheap. And quality isn't bad. Charlotte Street has some really good clothes. Frederick Street. If you were thinking about the malls, I would recommend Mickles. I don't know if Bang Bang is still in existence. I think I heard they closed down. I used to shop there when I shop, but definitely Charlotte Street, you can find a bargain. There are countless number of stores located on that street where they're selling items that you could get some nice outfits for under $300.
What? Okay. So back to food quickly. Pets. Sorry. Payla. Um, would you prefer your payout dry or sappy?
I don't like sappy pilau and I don't like dry pilau. I in between. It has to have some kind of gravy in it, but it can't be dry and just.
Right.
But it can't be, sorry, it can't be too wet and just sappy, and of course it has to have some potato salad on it.
Okay. So pets, are you licky face or no licky face when it comes to pets?
If I am or if I will let my pets lick my face, to be honest, I have never owned a pet. Surprisingly, I fostered several stray cats, but because they were stray, I never let them get close enough to me to lick my face. But I would feed them, I would play with them. But I am not against people who love their pets like children and allow them to lick their face. I think it's a personal preference, a personal choice. I have never personally owned a pet, so I've never had the experience of having them lick my face to decide whether I liked it or not, or was okay with it or not.
I hear you. I hear you. So let's get into some politics and what you do.
Politics, yes.
Yeah. Um, and I understand you're the chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party as
Yes,
well.
I am.
Yeah. So I'll tell you like my story. Like I came here in about 2007, and so before that it was all English politics for me. And over there it seemed like
Mhm.
it was two main parties, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. The Conservatives seemed to be generally for the rich people. The Labour Party was generally for the poor people. But now I've grown up and understand politics a bit more. It seems that both of those parties are just for um, mega companies, you know, and the
Yeah.
rich anyway. It doesn't really matter. Over here, to me, when I first landed, it seemed to be um, the PNM was for black people and the UNC was for Indian people.
Mhm.
What is the PEP for? What is PEP for, really?
I love that question. PEP is for all people. And the motto of the Progressive Empowerment Party, the slogan, the tagline is one people under one flag. And if you look at the people who make up the Progressive Empowerment Party, Indian, it's black, it's Syrian, it's mixed, it's Douglas, it's Chinese. Actually, I had a couple, they had a meeting today in here in Grab and Go, and the rainbow of people that we represent. We represent people who are fed up of the tribal, which is racist politics. I'm Indian, so I'm UNC. I'm black, so I'm PNM. We represent the people who realize that politics is nothing to do with race and skin and hair texture and what you look like, and everything to do with a better country. And whether I'm black or I'm Indian or I'm white, the issues that face us as human beings, which transcends race, that is what we stand for and hope to fix and represent the issues that impact us as citizens, general citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, because as I say, like I consider myself like a foreigner, even though I've been living here for 15 years, got a Trinidad passport and all that.
Yeah.
Uh, as an outsider looking in, this seems to be an ideal situation for the 1%. Because instead of us fighting we seem to be fighting amongst ourselves, black versus Indian, instead of realizing what the real problems are. You know, we're squabbling over pettiness. So it's good that it's a party for all that you're saying.
And you know, it's funny that you said that. I had a discussion last night, impromptu cottage meeting of sorts with some of the boys in my neighborhood. They found out I'm involved in politics and they wanted to know what am I going to do for them. And I was explaining to them exactly what you just said, that our politics has kept us so divided. I love history and I've studied history throughout, you know, my former years. And one thing I noticed as a repeated pattern is that in order for the 1% and the cabals to reign and continue their oppressiveness over us, all they have to do is set two or multiple groups against each other, and we at the bottom here fighting, and I'm PNM till I dead, and I'm UNC till I dead, not realizing that we literally going down to death, living in a situation that should not be. Trinidad and Tobago is the third wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know if we still are, but it doesn't feel like that, because to the people who are living on the ground, the reality that we live in, that richness does not trickle down to the ground. And to those same boys who I was talking to yesterday, who asked me what they're going to get for walking with me, I said, I don't want you to be satisfied with $500 and a t-shirt and a box juice and a tea plate for marching with me for elections. I want you to tell me what you want as a career, what you want to be when you grow up. You're here 22 years old, sitting down on the block, smoking weed, selling drugs, running from the police, can't sleep at night, knowing that some of the people around you in your circle, you're not going to see them in the next year. And he told me that, he said, I know that the reality is that some of the people that I'm aligning with now may not be here with me a year later, because that is the reality of the divisive politics that we have created in this country. We've created your black, so you vote for PNM, not understanding that the PNM is run and managed by people who look nothing like you. It's rich Syrian and Chinese and Indian businessmen, even black businessmen whose interest is not about race or color. Their interest is money, and even more money, while we are at the bottom here fighting for the crumbs. So I always try to explain to people, and we say that divided they conquer, united we conquer. I always try to push that spirit of unity, because that is the only way I think we are going to get out of this hellhole that we're heading to as a country.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
already
I,
in.
I have to agree with you there. Okay, so like when I was coming over as well, in 2007, I was looking for a couple of things in a party's manifesto, and one of them was renewable energy. And I remember, like, when I went to Guyana, this must have been in like something like 2016. Guyana's not Guyana, Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
It's very mountainous, so it's got no like motorways. You have to really go through the country if you drive into the other side of the island. And what I noticed, I would estimate 20 to maybe 30% plus of the roofs over there had solar panels over there. Now, in Trinidad, I would estimate that figure to be anything from 1% to 5%, bearing in mind that I've hardly seen any solar panels on houses over here. And for us being, I think that we were the energy capital of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
For us not to have made any progress, or progress that I could see in renewables since I've been in this country, which is like over 15 years now, it's a sad case. What are your plans for renewable energy?
I love that you asked that question. Dubai, which made its riches off of oil, used that money and reinvested into shipping, believe it or not. We in Trinidad and Tobago, we dug, we found oil, and thought that we struck gold for the rest of our lives, not anticipating or being blind to the fact that everything has to end at some point, so that the money that we would have earned from the oil and gas booms that we've had over the years, that we should have reinvested it into things like renewable energy. Because look at where we are situated. We are situated in the most perfect place. The fact that we have not yet had wind farms developed on the eastern side of Trinidad and Tobago yet is such a tremendous shame, because we could have benefited from not just reducing the cost of our own utilities here in Trinidad and Tobago, but we could have been selling this to other islands upwards of the Caribbean. And the fact that we have not had visionaries to implement this is a real shame, because the possibility and the potential is so very ripe in Trinidad and Tobago. Like I said, where we are situated, the wind that we have on the eastern side, which is the Topo side of the island, we should have and could have capitalized on it a really long time ago. The Progressive Empowerment Party, of which I am a part of, we are very much, as the name says, progressive. So we're looking towards the future. We understand that oil and gas is not going to be king forever. The same way gold was not the king forever. The same way coal was not the king forever. Everything has its time, and what you need is leaders who understand that we're not just living for the now, we have to live for the future too. We have to live for the fact that renewable energy, and we talk about the wind, the sunshine, the sun that Trinidad and Tobago has. 6 months of the year, we have a dry season where we have copious amounts of sunlight coming on. The fact that we haven't had that we are not 100 or close to 100% solar power yet is sad, but it's also a testament to people who in power don't want to see certain things progress, because it would mean they can't get a cutback or they can't get a cut in this. So a lot of the decisions that were made for Trinidad and Tobago were made by some very selfish and greedy people. The Progressive Empowerment Party, we want to spread that wealth. We want to make sure that we can survive a World War I, a World War II, and I'm going to talk food sustainability here right now. I mean, look at what's happening right now with Russia and Ukraine. We're hearing talks of food shortages and flour shortages. We are not even yet food. We're not food sufficient yet, or food sustained yet, that we can make and grow our own food. And again, it's going to take leaders and visionaries to understand that things like renewable energy is the future. Things like food sustainability is the future. We are heavily focused on that and would like to see these policies implemented should we have the opportunity of holding government.
Yeah. And also, like, I just like us this weekend. There was going to be a campaign about was going to clean up our Kelly Village riverbank because of the amount of litter that is down on the back. The streets look fine. I've got to say, big up CPEP, because the actual streets of Kelly look fine. But if you look down the riverbank, it's terrible. So what? And I think one of the problems is, like, when you look on the streets of Kelly or the streets of most places in Trinidad, you won't find any bins. Like anywhere. For me, it's hard to find, like when you're walking down the road, it's hard to find a public bin. So what do the public do when it comes to litter?
Now, me personally, I would hold on to my litter and take it home. I understand that that's me. That's how I was trained, and I hate to see littering. But you're correct. The majority of the streets, I have walked along Park Street, which is a very long street. Starts from Charlotte and Park all the way down to Phillip and Victoria Square. That's at least 7 or 8 blocks. And in the length of those 8 blocks, I have seen zero dustbins. Zero dustbins. Meaning that when the public has their rubbish to throw, somebody who wasn't raised like me, somebody who may not have the foresight to think that, the rubbish that I throw in the drain now going to end up clogging the rivers later down. Because that's not my problem. I'm not the person, who has to clean the rivers, or I live in an area that doesn't flood. So to hell with that. Where are they supposed to throw their rubbish? And it's a personal pet peeve of mine, because I hate to see litter, and I hate to see. There's no faster way to lose me as a friend than to be riding in my car, roll down my window, and throw something out of the door. I will throw you out as well. Do not do that. But again, what have we as a country implemented to reduce our carbon footprint? What have we implemented to reduce the litter and the clutter that we have experienced and see? And we see it at flooding times. When there's a flood, you see piles and piles and piles and mountains of rubbish and garbage. We as a country, we have not taken recycling seriously. We haven't taken our litter wardens seriously. We have signs that say there are fines for littering, yet under those signs you have piles upon piles of rubbish. There's literally to find a dump site in Trinidad, just go and look for the sign that says don't dump rubbish here. That's exactly where they dump rubbish. But again, can we blame them when you have not provided the facilities for the proper disposal of your rubbish?
Okay. Oh, so there are currently there's a fining system if you dump.
There's a fining system, but it's not enforced. Like many things in this country, it's not enforced. Litter wardens have no real power, or you hardly ever see them out. I mean, ever so often you will see a big stunt, and they would roll around in their shirts and their clipboards, and then that lasts for all of a week, and then we go back to not having people there to enforce these rules. But again, on top of having people enforce, you have to have a system by which people can dispose of their rubbish. So the two go hand in hand. You have to have a system, and then you have to have enforcement.
Yeah. And recycling, because as I say, when I left England and moved here, recycling was really starting to take off in England, and I used to judge like Trinidad being roughly about say 10 years behind. That's how I used to gauge things. So that so that would have been technically 2017. I would have seen some kind of recycling system where it actually comes to your house or your village. But there's been nothing in Kelly Village really about recycling.
Yeah, and especially for the more rural villages, you won't see those things being implemented, which is sad because those are some of the places that people, dispose of the most rubbish. This bottle that I have here, this water bottle, I blocked out the labels to not give them free advertising. But the Progressive Empowerment Party says when you look at the drains, most of the things that it's cluttered with is plastic bottles, like these single-use bottles that people discard. And of course, there are no bins, so they throw it on the ground. We say put a tax on the manufacturing stage of these water bottles so that the company pays that as a tax at the manufacturing stage, so that we can have street dwellers and people who are homeless pick the streets clean of these plastic bottles for a redemption price. The same way you will never walk in Port of Spain now and see a glass Carib or Stag bottle. The reason being because the street dwellers know that they can redeem one of those bottles for 10 cents. The same way they can redeem these plastic bottles. That would solve two problems at once. It would solve the littering problem, and it's going to give the street dwellers some kind of hope and opportunity, a means of earning an income other than sitting down and begging. Again, these are progressive ideas that any government can implement. None of these things I didn't randomly think about this. Success leaves clues. You can follow any country. You just said England was implementing these things. If we really wanted to implement best world practices, we would look to the best world leaders and best countries in the world and use them as a map or a roadmap for where we could be. But again, it doesn't benefit us to implement, or it doesn't benefit those who profit from things like flooding and littering. It doesn't benefit them to implement things like this, unfortunately.
That's a fantastic idea, because there's a lot more plastic bottles than there are like glass bottles. So you could see like a lot of
put a redemption on those plastic bottles and see how fast they disappear. Street dwellers and homeless people would pick the landfills clean of plastic bottles.
Excellent idea. Okay, so you're the chairman of PEP.
Yes, I am.
So what does the chairman of a party actually do?
Everything. I am involved in everything. I am involved so the political leader, which is the person who's responsible for being the tip of the party, the leader of the party, the person who decides which direction we go in. As the chairman, I am the person who is responsible for implementing the direction that we're going in. So the political leader says, we want to build out 41 constituencies with 41 executives. My job is to make sure that there are teams and people responsible for actioning these items. My job is to make sure that meetings are called and people are in attendance to make decisions on where the party is going. My job is to make sure that I have strong people around me, a strong leadership team, because it can't just be me and the political leader doing this. You need to build out an army below you. My job is to make sure that things are running in order, that we have the right people in the right positions, and that we're constantly building and growing the organization.
Okay.
Of course, there are the statutory parts of it, such as dealing with the Elections and Boundaries Commission as it pertains to elections when they come around, permission letters to various governments and public service organizations. That's all incorporated in the role of the chairman.
Okay. And the political leader, is that Philip Edward Alexander?
That is Philip Edward Alexander.
Right. Okay. Very, very interesting talking to you about politics today. And you said later on you might be eating some curry crab right there where you are, yeah?
If they have left, I kind of watch it over now.
You didn't reserve any, no?
Simone, you reserve any crab and dumplings for me? You have any left? I just need one. Yes, they have one left. So
okay. So before I let you go and have your lovely curry crab and dumpling, have you got anything else that you'd like to say to the people?
I did not think that coming on. To be very honest with you, I was very interested. You asked me at the start of the program if I had any questions to you. I had none because I really wanted to see where this discussion would go. I didn't really understand the correlation between food and politics, but at the end of this interview, I think it's actually even clearer to me. I spoke a lot about food at the first half and then politics and the latter half. But I think the theme remains the same, whether we're talking food or politics. One of the questions you asked me is what would I consider the national dish of Trinidad and Tobago? And I brought in the fact that it's a controversial question because you have two of the dominant races kind of fighting for their space, whereas I personally believe there's no one favorite or one national dish, and that we're a melting pot of different flavors and tastes and offerings as a Caribbean, as a country, as an island, as a Caribbean island. Whereas, or likewise, in the political scheme of things, we have the majority East Indian and the majority Afro-Trinbagonian, again, kind of going at loggerheads to no fault of their own, because this is how we were inculcated and indoctrinated that if I'm Indian, I have to be UNC, and if I'm PNM, I have to be Black. Whereas I personally think both have a stake in this country, and should we both stop fighting each other and recognize the differences and the strengths and the uniqueness of each other, that we could collaborate and work together and fight towards a better Trinidad and Tobago rather than fighting each other. So I'm appreciating the I guess the correlation between food and our local food and our politics, and for me it all boils down to us as a nation recognizing our similarities, recognizing our differences, and appreciating it. And rather than fighting each other, working with each other, because I love doubles and I love pilau. I love my Black friends and I love my Indian friends. I would love if we could all just work together.
Excellent, excellent. And how do people get in touch with or subscribe to PEP?
How do people get, sorry?
Subscribe to either on social media, the contact information for your party.
The Progressive Empowerment Party, you can find us online. That's PEPTT.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can search for the Progressive Empowerment Party. You can find our pages, the Philip Edward Alexander page. We have thousands and thousands of hours of content, videos, our policies, our manifesto. If you would like to see our manifesto, it's called 21policies.com, 21policies.com, where you can check out all the 21 policies we have for Trinidad and Tobago. We spoke about some today that like taxing the water bottles so that we can have the street dwellers pick the street clean. We spoke about renewable energy. There's also a plan for securing the borders. There's a plan for water management and flood management in one. You solve the water problem, the water shortage problem, as well as the flooding problem in one. Very progressive ideas. So Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're also on YouTube. Search for the Progressive Empowerment Party. Search for Philip Edward Alexander. And of course, if you'd like to reach me personally, I give out my number to everybody, 769-4590. You can contact me to find out how you can be a part of this organization, because we all have to play a part in fixing Trinidad and Tobago. It's not just enough to say we want a better country. While not everybody has to be a leader, while not everybody has to be a chairman, we all can play some small role in our constituencies, in our electoral districts. Even if we don't get involved in that way, we play a major role every 5 years when we go into that voting booth and we stain our fingers. The next time we vote, I'm encouraging the public, please make a decision based on your future. Do not vote on race politics. Don't vote on tribalism. Vote for better Trinidad and Tobago. That is all we should be voting on right
now. Yeah. And can I quickly ask you, with smaller parties, because obviously you're not as big as the two main parties, would the idea to be like to get a seat or as many seats as you can and to stay independent, or would it be to like get a seat or as many seats as you can and form a coalition?
The idea that the Progressive Empowerment Party has, and it's funny that you asked that question, because today we met with a party, I'm not going to call the name, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag, but we met with a party, not the PNM, not the UNC, but a party that has very similar goals and ideologies as the Progressive Empowerment Party. They believe in a better country, and they're willing to work with us. What that is going to look like in the future, I'm not certain, but we have agreed that we stand united on certain issues, and we're willing to work together in that regard. For us, we are committed to fighting all 41 seats. I don't necessarily believe in coalitions, but I do believe in individuals working together and being willing to put aside party loyalty and politics to work towards a better Trinidad and Tobago. So whether we fight that alone as the Progressive Empowerment Party, or we fight it with other parties who share similar ideologies as ours, will be determined closer to election time.
Felicia, I really do want to thank you for your time, and I really do hope that it's going to be the tastiest crab and dumpling you're going to eat right now. I really do. Thank
you so much for that. Like belly growling right now, excited for that food.
Yeah, I'll let you go. I know you're hungry. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it was an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to watching this the edited version of this program. Yes.
Excellent. Don't forget to send those photos.
I will.
Thanks a lot. You take care. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.